Hello there. It's Final Whistle Weekly. Have you ever wondered what four happy men look like? Well, here you go. We had quite a fun weekend. I'm Mark Griffiths, and I am joined by Neil Williams, Bill Long, and Chay Long. Happy about the last weekend, chaps, at all?
So happy that I'm drinking a little Four Walls. Not sponsored by Rob, although I am open for advertising. But thanks to Spitball Idea who brought this over for us when he came over in the week. Yeah, incredibly happy.
I need to point out to any children watching that Four Walls is a wallpaper paste. No,
yes,
don't drink wallpaper paste.
I regularly drink wallpaper paste, hence my luscious demeanour.
That's right, absolutely. You look like you've got wood chip written all over you. That's all I think.
Well, it's funny you say that because I did have wood chip written all over me when I moved into this house and had to strip the walls. But we're not here to listen about that. But yeah, I've still got PTSD. Shaking adhere to that.
Yeah, horrendous.
And Neil, what do you think of the atmosphere on Saturday?
Atmosphere was superb, guys. When they, as I said, it's best I've seen at the racecourse for many, many years. Oh, it was just bouncing.
The only time I've
kind of atmosphere you'd expect in a circus, guys.
Yeah. Sending the clowns. Oh, we're already here. Yeah, the only time I've experienced a bad atmosphere was at Elton John's wedding, but And Chay, how are you going?
I've only just recovered, to be fair.
From Elton John's wedding, or
from Elton John's wedding? Yeah, no.
We did take a minibus.
I've only just recovered from the weekend. To be fair, it didn't help that I carried on and had a good few drinks for the women's game as well. So yeah, that's another thing we'll be talking about today as well.
Yeah, if any kids are watching, stop watching. I think that's probably the best thing I can say. Oh dear. So there you are. The debauched intro that we were all dreaming of. After this, we'll talk about, some good football. This is Final Whistle Weekly. So, we did all right on Saturday. Started off with Leyton Orient doing us a favour. I think a fairly predictable favour. I kind of fancied them to turn Wycombe over. That opens it up that if we win, we are up. We have gone back to back to back. And we delivered in spades. I mean, wow, guys. Chay, what a performance. Amazing.
Well, just if we bring ourselves back to pre-game and with the Wycombe result, I was in town, and as soon as that result had finished, the whole town was bouncing, and you could kind of feel like something special was about to happen. And it was just the whole vibes around town. There was that march into the ground. The pubs were absolutely bouncing. The pre-match in town itself, it was like something. It did feel like something special was going to happen, didn't it?
Oh wow! Best experience pre-match, guys.
Yeah, I'd say so. Wow. Up there at Boreham Wood, definitely.
I mean, for me, I wasn't in town for the game. I sort of I couldn't watch the Leyton Orient game. I just couldn't. I was just sort of like, I've not watched a single Wycombe game other than when they played us this year. I couldn't be the jinx that then watched them stick 2 or 3 past Leyton Orient. That's how I felt. But I walked into town, obviously, after the result had happened, and it was just like, as soon as I got near Bellevue Park, it felt like I was walking into a jungle rather than a park, because everyone just seemed to be really up for it. There was people everywhere, and there was saw a few sort of Charlton fans walking around, and I don't think they really quite knew what had hit them a little bit. Not that they weren't buoyant themselves, but it's not often you go into a place that's expecting a win, Neil. Not like that, anyway.
No, definitely so. I mean, I wasn't in town until beforehand, but I saw a few videos in pubs, and I thought they were celebrating like Wrexham goals. But to see Wrexham fans celebrating the Orient goal against Wickham was sublime, you know, and it's, you know, put it on a plate that we could, you know, win it on Saturday against Charlton, and we were up. And I know that's easier said than done, but you know, that's all the team had to do. And you know, guys, they didn't let us down one little bit.
Well, how did it feel for you two? Because, you know, covering games last season, we've all done big games, but when you're covering a match and working it, you're kind of in your own bubble, aren't you? It's a little bit of a different experience, isn't it? Because you don't get the pre-match festivities because you're obviously working, aren't you?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And by the way, I've also experienced what you felt, Bill, when I went near Bellevue Park. But that was because of the Bellevue Butchers, of course. I still felt something. It wouldn't have been as good as walking up to the ground, but the buzz around the ground beforehand was something else. I go down and interview former players in the Bamford suite for 10 minutes before the match, and it was Steve Watkin, and the buzz in there, the excitement, and having him, of course, you know, from Akrovaya, and someone who provided a great Wrexham memory for us against Arsenal, you know, that added something to it for me as well. But in the stadium, it's just one of those situations where you think, turn the music off maybe, because we're drowning out the music anyway, and it's just, you know, for about 45 minutes before kickoff, the noise in there was fantastic, and you just know you're on the edge of something epic. But I don't think personally I can quite enjoy that until it starts, and then you see how we start, and you realise that, yeah, those players appreciate the occasion. They're drinking it all in, and they just can't wait to get at the opposition, because the way we started that game, was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah, for me, it was. Go on, Bill. Sorry.
Go on, Neil.
Yeah.
It was a strange experience from start to finish. Before we sort of get onto that, though, I want to ask you, Chay, really, because you've worked the last two promotion games, and then you didn't work this one. Like, how was, you're the only one of the four of us that have had that experience over those 3 years. What was it like for you actually going to the game rather than commentating on it?
A different experience, obviously, because it's a bit more pressure, I suppose, when you are commentating. Like, you've got to get things right. You've got to do a job, haven't you? At the end of the day,
this is what wrong.
Yeah,
doing a job. Oh,
you can't really switch off until the final whistle's done. But when you're in the stands, it's just an occasion, isn't it? It's two completely different, both enjoyable for completely different reasons. And I didn't drink that much before the game, because I obviously wanted to remember the game. But it was two very different experiences. You know, each three of the promotions were actually three different experiences. But yeah, like Mark said, the way we started the game, which I think spoke boundaries to how it was going to finish. And to be honest, as soon as that, and I know it sounds ridiculous now, I was a bit like, pre-game, I was saying to everyone, 1-1, that'd be a great result. We're playing a really good side. It's in our hands. We can beat Lincoln away. Brilliant. But as soon as Rodriguez did that sliding tackle in the first few minutes and then fist pumped the crowd in front of us, I thought, oh, yeah, these boys are up for it. And if we get this goal soon, which we did, yeah, it's going to go off. And I just had that feeling that we were just going to win. And I don't usually have that. I'm usually a bit of a pessimist when it comes to football. But yeah, I just knew straight away, yeah, we're going to win today.
Because that's the truest thing I've ever heard, you saying you'd be happy with a draw before the game. Because generally, before every game, you'd be happy with a draw, wouldn't you, Chay? You'd be absolutely delighted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt the same way. That the way we started, even before we scored, you're thinking, "Oh, we got this. This feels good."
Yeah.
And I suppose the one point that made me realise this was when it was 2-0 around just before half time. When I thought they did quite well last 10 minutes of the half to not to get on top, but to stop the chaos. because until that point, it was heavy metal football. It was us getting in their last thirds, and then they were rushing everything, and they were panicking, and we were forcing the stakes and stringing together nice, fast passing movements, and they couldn't cope with it. We were getting around the sides of them really easily, and they did well to sort of stop that from happening and stop the damage. And it then struck me that, okay, but there could still be a result on the line here. If they nick a goal, all of a sudden we could not win this, which felt a bit illogical because we'd been so much better than them. And of course, the second half, yeah, I'd say they had more of the ball. It looked like to me. Did they threaten? Not particularly. I thought we were really in game management, if you will, not taking it into the corners or wasting time, but just holding them at arm's length and saying, "Okay, we're all right." But yeah, it sort of reminded me that little spell of, oh yeah, we are actually in a football match here. The other side will have to do something because we've been so dominant. It wasn't really coming into my head of, oh dear, what if they come back at us? Because we were just, the word I'm looking for is relentless, I think.
Yeah, I think our energy levels were superb, weren't they, from the get-go, from the beginning of the game. As you say, Chay, Rodriguez with his fist pump when he went into sliding tackle. McLean did something very, very similar, went in for a sliding tackle, and he was getting the crowd up behind him, and you just feel the energy coming from the players, and they wanted to win that match on Saturday, and they wanted to go up in front of the home fans yet again, which was great to see. I think, as you've said, Mark, they took over the last 10 minutes, but that seemed to happen after their goalkeeper went down injured for a little while, which slowed the game down a bit, and then they took a bit of control from then.
We were suspicious whether that was deliberate or not. And certainly they seemed a bit better having had a breather and a chance to pull themselves together. Yeah, I'm glad you're talking about Rodriguez, you guys, because I don't like the way some people have been towards him when I think he's been doing a good job. I think anybody who's critical of Rodriguez's performance on Saturday needs to have a good hard think, because the quality and work rate across the board was outstanding. But those two strikers, goodness me, I mean, they never gave the Charlton defenders a moment's rest, did they? They were just constantly harrying them, running in behind them, causing them all sorts of problems, wouldn't let them settle on the ball. It was just non-stop from us. Brilliant of it.
It says a lot, Mark, that, again, I know I'm a bit of a bore with who scored and bringing it up all the time, but looking at the stats, Smith and Rodriguez scored pretty highly at 6.6 for Rodriguez and 8.9 for Smith, but their two centre-backs didn't have, below 6 ratings. Gillespie actually had 7.3. So it shows how well he's done on the day to have had 3 goals go past him and still have a 7.3 rating. Like, that's actually ridiculous, isn't it? It's not statistically, again, it's the eye test, not the stats and all that sort of stuff, but he's... What's that, sorry?
No, go on.
Just shows that even statistically that their back four didn't have a bad game. They were just outfought, weren't they, for 90 minutes? And I feel a little bit, guys, I don't know about you lot, but I'm almost like, I feel like in a couple of weeks I'm going to hit a period of mourning, because I don't think I'll ever watch a better game of football ever again in my entire life. That's from the atmosphere to the stakes to the way we played from top to bottom. Honestly, I get a bit emotional thinking about it. That is the peak of what being a football fan can be.
The quality goals as well, Bill, was superb.
Oh yeah, just every single goal was brilliant. Every single player was brilliant. We didn't put a single foot wrong, really, for 90 minutes. The crowd were absolutely amazing against opposition that you'd probably argue, of the 3 promotion games we played, they were the best opposition that we've come across by some distance. Yeah. They're the most informed team apart from Birmingham in the league for the last 3 or 4 months. It was just perfect, wasn't it, Chay? It was just absolute perfection.
Yeah, it really was. Because this is a real high caliber team, a team that I'm probably going to stick my neck out and say they're going to win the playoffs. they seem very well equipped, and defensively very, very good as well. We made them look very ordinary. I was actually listening to a Charlton podcast this week, one of the ones their commentary team runs. And it was interesting to hear their point of view about the whole situation, really, because they felt like Wycombe played the occasion when Charlton played this, when they lost 4-0. Wycombe played the occasion. The atmosphere maybe got a bit too much for them. But they felt like Charlton players got a little bit too intimidated by the crowd. And I think, Mark, you've got to give the players, of course, amazing, brilliant, but that rallying cry from Phil Parkinson last week at the Blackpool game, the fans really did respond, and we certainly did play our part, didn't we?
Absolutely astonishing support in both those games, and consistently over the years as well. I would flip that around if I was thinking about Charlton. I would say that Wycombe, okay, maybe they didn't rise to the occasion. We rose to the occasion to the extent that Charlton couldn't deal with it. Because I think bottom line, I think Charlton are very good. I do think we're better. And I think that us being better and rising to an occasion, they just weren't able to deal with that. I don't mean any disrespect to them, but we should have won at Charlton. It wasn't for a very poor penalty decision in the 97th minute. And yeah, we were just exceptionally good, weren't we, I thought. Going back to your point, Bill, about those who scored marks. I mean, so we've got to remember that they're based on statistics. I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. But, Gillespie, I thought played well, trying to hold together a defence that was creaking. And he made, when I went to the final whistle, I was making my notes watching the game again and realising that every time there was a last-ditch moment where we looked like we were going to score and didn't, it was him who was making the challenge. So that's also boosted his marks up. But to be fair, I think that's defining a good performance by him, isn't it? But yeah, I was really happy for Rodriguez and Smith. Both goals are great, but that first one, for me, that's bookend to Mark Hughes' scissors kick at the other end now, as far as I'm concerned. What a goal. And then Rathbone. What a beautiful man he is. Oh, goodness me. Great, isn't he?
That Sam Smith first goal, I think we do really. Obviously, the Rathbone goal was amazing, but for him to get that on target, the pass was incredible to start off with.
Yeah.
But the technique for him to even make contact with it and not slip over and make himself look like a fool, it's just incredible in such a high stakes, high pressure game. I know it's recency bias, but for me, it's between that and the Jack Marriott goal against Wycombe at the start of the season. I'm thinking about the Paul Mullin goal. That was really good as well against Blackpool at home.
Yeah.
But for me, that one, because of how big the game was against the opposition, it killed off the game for me. That second goal before, the second goal in the first half, Neil. It was just incredible, wasn't it?
It was just superb, and three great goals. Rathbone well worked, and it was nice to see something different from a corner. To go short, then play to Rathbone on the edge of the box, and he had all the space in the world to put it in the corner of the net. And I doubt we'll ever see a goal like Smith's first goal again in a long time at the racecourse, because they say that the ball in from James was superb and inch perfect. And for to come in over his shoulder, then for him to turn and actually make contact with that ball in mid-air was absolutely sublime. And like Marky said, I didn't feel comfortable 2-0. I thought, Charlton get one back, which Steve Bainey did just before half-time, but Arthur made a great save down near the post. We still maybe on a bit of a knife edge, but second half, they came out and I thought, we're fine. The players that threw themselves on the line in tackle, put their body in front. Scar, since he's come in from O'Connell, got injured, has been absolutely a revelation. Superb player, won everything in the air. Absolutely brilliant. Every player on that pitch on Saturday gave 100% to win the promotion in front of their own fans, rather than going to this coming Saturday. They were absolutely superb.
I was saying about the best goals, and I was thinking, Steve Edwards' goal of the season. in the past has been won by Mark Carrington's goal at Stoke, which was a very good goal. But I think it's the significance of that goal, taking the lead at a Premier League team in front of that massive 4,000 crowd of Wrexham fans, and then him celebrate. It's that, like you said, it's the occasion that makes that an obvious winner. And although we've scored some fine goals this season, I think you're right. I think that Smith, on an occasion like that, scoring a goal of that calibre, it's got to be a very strong case for goal of the season, I think, to be honest.
It's really, really funny where I sit. So Chay obviously sits somewhere different, but has sat in our seats when I've not been able to go or whatever. It's right behind the goal, and at a level that it's great for watching football. It's amazing, but you don't necessarily get a real clear view of the entire pitch. It's just good for atmosphere and good for being able to see it. So I always get to experience everything twice. I get to see it on the pitch, but then I get to watch it on the highlights afterwards and really appreciate it. When it went in, I didn't really quite process like what had actually happened. It was such a ridiculous goal. The ball flying over the top. You kind of think, is he going to try and stick his head on this and it's going to go wide? And then before you know it's in the back of the net, and you just can't like you lose yourself before you can even really quite understand what's happened. And it's I don't think I've celebrated that hard since maybe Tom O'Connor's goal against Sheffield United was the last time I really went that wild. It was similar sort of atmosphere to that, wasn't it, Mark? Really, that kind of like big special occasion, and the crowd was up for it.
Absolutely. I haven't hit such a high note as I did after that Sam Smith goal since I was the lead soprano in a performance Figaro at the amphitheatre in Seville. Wow.
The Seville circus, was it?
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Circus Maximus. That's what we've got.
Can we talk about that though for a second? The Nathan Jones call.
I've noticed Neil's got that on the back there on the wall.
Is that a tattoo?
Football in a circus. That was the best chant all day, guys.
Just what a silly thing to do. Like if I had a manager that ever made a comment like that about another club before the game, you'd think, oh, here we go, we're going to lose this now.
I don't think Parkinson needed team talk, did he?
No.
I don't think
he didn't anyway. But I think that the fans might have been a bit more nervous if that hadn't happened, because that chant just got everyone going, didn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes in big games, it's difficult to get everybody going because they're so nervous. But you introduce something funny like that gets people going because it can sort of relieve a bit of the pressure. And all of a sudden, you've got 12,000 people singing a song that might not have happened if he hadn't made that comment. Just completely galvanizes, didn't it?
He wrote a song for it.
I was looking at
by an opposing manager. It's astonishing, isn't it?
I was lucky to be on the standing platform behind the goal in front of the temporary cot, which they part disabled. But there was 6 camera crew there from Australia filming. And this was their first game. They were fair enough, they were Wrexham, but they went absolutely bananas. They'd said they'd never experienced an atmosphere, a game, goals of top quality as they had at Wrexham. And the downfall is they were going to Liverpool the next day.
Don't stand comparison to anybody, don't you worry. I just felt that I don't think for a second Nathan Jones meant it in the way it came out. I think he's trying to say that, he wants us to focus on a big game, but there'll be a lot of hullabaloo because we're a media-friendly club, and it will be a big occasion. But it was an incredibly unwise choice of words, like you said, that gave us a song. And also, it was funny because was it the Thursday, he tried to retract it.
He did,
yes. And I thought the way he explained it was correct. I thought, yeah, I believe you completely, mate. But then he started saying I was misquoted, and I said, well, don't keep talking, because you weren't misquoted. The entire sort of that section of the video leads up to him saying it. You can say I misspoke, and that was correct. But don't then start to say, oh, people put words in my mouth, or people misinterpret. You said that. Don't
let's
say that.
let's be brutally honest. He quite literally said, "We've got to go to the circus." There's no other. You can't misquote that, can you? It's like
No, but it was like I say. I really don't think he intended it to be taken the way it has been taken, but it was absolutely inevitable that it would be taken the way it was taken because it sounded like he was saying that. So, yeah,
as a professional, you don't say things like that.
it's just there's no benefit from it. Sometimes you can wind up side or motivate your own team with certain things you'll say, or the whole Fergie mind games, which I'm not convinced are quite as clever as people make out. But that can't do anything but backfire. I can't see any way that could help. He's just carelessly used a word which is loaded in our context and given us all something. I think I like that, Bill, to enjoy and to not be nervous pre-match about. We'll probably have to leave that there for now, although we'll have plenty of scope, I'm sure, in the coming weeks to talk about that sort of thing. And sadly, talk about a defeat on Sunday, albeit a brave one. So, jubilation on Saturday. We went for another massive achievement on Sunday and missed out. The women's team playing in the Bute Energy Welsh Cup final in Newport, and we were beaten 3-1 by Cardiff. Now, if you've heard what I say about women's football, I'm going to be praising Cardiff for the fact that they're a great team and they're a very decent setup. But again, it was really gratifying after the match, the compliments they were paying us, because, well, you said you saw it, Chay, didn't you? We were. I think Cardiff deserved the win because, to me, they're an experienced team and they know how to turn up at big moments in tight games, and they did that really well. But on another day, that could have gone very differently, the players were gutted, but I was very, very proud of them afterwards.
Well, we've got a young team. Cardiff obviously have a lot more experience than us. We had a few missed opportunities. The second penalty was disappointing. I think if we would have got a goal from that, and I don't like to be critical. It was a poor penalty as well. But it especially after that, it just didn't seem like it was going to go our way at all. And it wasn't from the lack of trying or actually playing badly. I just think we lost to the better side. And, coming into next season, a few more additions to the squad, we'll be right back up there again. I have no doubts at all. I think it didn't look like Cardiff completely outclassed us. Of course, they were the better side, but for me, maybe a couple more additions, a bit more confidence, a bit more belief going into next season. I really do think that we'll push them a lot even harder next season.
I totally agree. I thought we still had chances after that. I mean, poor Eva. She doesn't need to be told it wasn't a great penalty, does she? As we all know, but I felt so sorry for her. She's Wrexham through and through, and I was really gutted for her. Obviously, if that goes in, it's 2-2 of half an hour to play. About 4 minutes later, Lily hits the bar, and then the bounce stops Edendon from scoring in front of an open goal because it bounces at the one height where she's going to have to take a touch. If she's high enough to head or low enough to volley, she scores. And she takes a good touch, but it allows time for Jenkins to come in and make a crazy tip of her toe intervention right in front of an open goal. I've got to say that pitch was not good. It's rugby ground, and the bounce to take it up to that height, if you look back at it again, it's like that test match was it Jamaica? Oh, it was Barbados, wasn't it? Where they had to abandon it after half an hour because the pitch was uneven and the West Indian fast bowlers were just bowling crazy stuff and it was flying in at batsmen's heads when it was pitched up. It was just like a horrible bounce off a rutted surface. So things like that. And then as well, at 3-1 down, the last 10 minutes, we really threw the kitchen sink at them. and there were a couple of good saves, some good blocks, a deflection that went just wide of the top corner. And you sort of feel, God, if we get one, if we pulled one back with 5 minutes left, or even 90th minutes or 5 minutes added time, we are really pushing it on now. We could get it. So I felt so sorry. Like you said, Chay, they left nothing on the pitch whatsoever. But Cardiff were really good in the key moments, I thought. And
they're the better side, aren't they? Obviously, not being awful. They've won the league.
Yeah, okay, I agree. But in this part of the season, we've been pretty even. We've beaten them twice.
Yeah.
And I think that, good players can really put a little bit extra on a big occasion, but like the men's team did. I think Cardiff did that a bit for a cup final. Do you know what I mean? Well, one thing that happened on Sunday was that through the generosity of Gemma Owen, I got myself a wristband to go and get some food after the match, because up in one of the hospitality suites, the teams were given some food afterwards, which is the tradition anyway. The home team tends to give food to the away team afterwards, go in a pub or whatever. So I went to get served, and I swear to God this happened, and I swear to God there was no sarcasm in it. A woman who was working there, who looked like she was in charge, stepped in when I went to get some food, and she said, "This is for players only. Did you play?" And I was sort of thinking, if I say yes, will it work? Because the fact she asked the question, means she thought I played in the Women's Welsh Cup final. Because I do look, firstly, in the first blooms of youth, and secondly, like a bearded lady.
The greatest showman. There we go.
Well, there you go. Absolutely. I love it when you call me that. And I did hesitate for quite a bit, looking at her, thinking, "What?" And I said,
"Did you just ask me?"
So again?
That's incredible.
I said, "With the club," and she went, "Oh," and I just thought, I just walked to the place, and I was served, and I left her. But yeah, she genuinely wanted to know. Maybe she wanted my autograph. Were you the centre back? Did you play in the game?
Mark.
What's that?
She's going to recommend you use Imac on your hairy legs.
Use it on my chin first, I think. Hey, waxing your legs doesn't hurt, by the way. Just trying to put that out there. I've had a strip of it done for charity. Don't feel a thing. There, fact. Anyway,
that is a genuinely incredible story, Mark. Honestly,
it was quite something. Did you play in the game? So anyway, I just Cardiff are good, really good. Fair enough. They put in a really good performance. Actually, Liv Fuller's been out since we played Swansea, and that's such a blow. I mean, we've not had TJ Dickens play all season, and she's an excellent midfielder. Likewise, Louisa Doran. In a small, tightly knit squad which has absolutely no passengers and has done exceptionally well for us. It'd be nice if we'd been able to call on them throughout the season as well. And certainly Cardiff would have had something to think about with them available at least. But then they had players out as well. I'm not trying to bleat, but I'm just trying to say that on another day it could have gone really differently. And Cardiff were very magnanimous afterwards.
Yeah, I think I saw it from the penalty when we missed the penalty to make it 2-2, and it could be a totally different game for them. And you said we missed a number of chances to put pressure back on them, and they scored the third. But yeah, I thought they played really well. But as you both said, Chay and yourself, Mark, they rose to the occasion and were slightly the better team to win the cup, even though we've beaten them twice. But they've got to look back on that. Like, they have beaten Cardiff this season, they've beaten Swansea this season, they've beaten TNS. So it doesn't all boil down to that one game, and they just go on to next season. They're not invincible, Cardiff and Swansea nowadays. We know we can beat them next year as well.
And I think that's part of why they were so upset. At the final whistle, the players was. I mean, you're gutted when you lose the cup final, but this felt worse than last year, where at that point we'd never even drawn against Cardiff, and we played well against them, but we'd never actually got anything out of them. And there was more a hope that we could pull it off this time. Whereas this time, having done the double in the second phase of the season, there was a sense of, I think, yeah, okay, we've done this and we're going to do it now. And fair play, you've got to raise your hat to Cardiff, who are worthy champions and worthy double winners. They're really good. But you're 100% right, Neil. I think next season, well, I think from what I hear talking to people at Cardiff, they expect us to really come at them hard. There was one thing that one of them said, which I loved afterwards, because they were saying that was the best game they'd been in all season in terms of the quality from both sides. They felt it was a really good game. And they were also saying, and you did a double over us, and nobody does that. And I thought that feels good. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's true. They're a class act, they're a class team, and I think they'll improve from this season. They've done brilliantly because they lost some key players from last year, and they've done brilliantly this season. And I know they feel it means more to them this season because they've had to really work for it. And I think they'll be better again next season, but we will be as well. And I think it'll be utterly fascinating to watch next season. I think really look forward to it already.
Yeah, especially with how strong TNS have been and Britain Ferry have been, and you've got, Swansea weren't even in the top four. That's a showing the league sort of grown in strength, isn't it, Mark?
Well, the three teams.
Sorry, Mark. You've got to expect Swansea to bounce back next season as well, haven't you? To make some improvements. They're going to be up. They're going to be up for it as well. So it'll be a really interesting season next season, I think.
I would expect that, absolutely. The three teams you just mentioned then, Bill, have all had changes of manager, and that'll be quite interesting to look at. Britain Ferry have lost a couple of players to retirement as well, and their manager, and I think so. Britain Ferry is a watch this space. Are they going to make an appointment that will allow them to build on what they've got, or is that going to be a major problem, losing key players and the manager? TNS have got a very good structure. Their manager's gone off and has got a job with the FA, and she's an excellent manager and has had a big impact in 1 year there. So I expect TNS to carry on as well and push. But yeah, I think it's going to be a cracking season next season. To have an 8-team league is not optimal, I don't think. But to have an 8-team league that has got like about 4 or 5 teams who seriously think they could win the league, that's fun. That's going to be really, really something. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Only 4 more months to wait. Come on.
And we've got to remember, guys, that the Wrexham will be playing the Swansea men's team as well next season as well. So it's another thing to look forward to.
Not the Cardiff team.
Not the Cardiff.
Well, Eagle Live.
They were relegated.
Yeah, I know, Neil. I know. Good Lord. First time since 2001, we're going to be in a higher league than Cardiff next season.
Wow.
Nice,
crazy.
Isn't it? Yeah. So, with that, let's take a little break and then we'll talk about the people who put us in that glorious position and who should be player of the season and young player of the season. So, Saturday, the Lincoln Party. Sunday, the big do at the racecourse. It'll be fantastic. We'll be announcing the player of the season, the young player of the season. The players will be coming out to celebrate. We've got Taylor Swift doing the live music. Oh! I'll edit this bit out later. Don't worry, guys. Yeah. Ooh, that was a bit of an arrow, wasn't it? Flaming hell. Anyway, sorry. 3, 2, 1. There'll be live music as well. And so player of the season. Your thoughts, chaps. Who's player of the season? Chay, on the spot. Oh, look, he disappeared.
Oh, sorry.
Who's player of the season? On the spot.
Matt Kluwer.
And why?
The goals he's contributed, and we've got one of the best defences in the league, and he's extremely young talent as well. Yeah, Max Cleworth.
Oh, excellent. Bill Long. Answer now. I'm enjoying
It's Ollie Rathbone for me. He's the exact sort of player that I love watching. Anyone who's sat with me for years watching football always knows I love a midfielder, and he's just epitomizes every single quality of a football that I enjoy watching. And he's I was torn between him and Owen O'Connell a couple of games ago, but I just think his contributions against Blackpool and Charlton just sort of give him that little bit of an edge. Although O'Connell's obviously unlucky because he was injured.
Can I put it to you, chaps, before I come to you, Neil? Neil, look at that extra breathing space. Can I put it to you, as we're talking about liking midfielders, should Matty James be in this equation? He's class, and his arrival was a genius by Parkinson.
Yeah, Matty James is certainly up there, but I think if you talk about Matty James, you got to talk about George Dobson as well, who's completely transformed the midfield. Hell of a signing. So I think you can name many, but the more I do think about Matty James, he is complete Premier League Championship quality for sure, an actual genius signing, isn't it? If you looking back. We paid nothing for him. Maybe signing of the season. But I think Ollie Rathbone's been complete. Ollie Rathbone's been really good, but for me, I think with our defensive record and the goals he's contributed, and he's great at crossing the ball. For me, I don't know how it can be. It couldn't be anyone from the back three, in my personal opinion.
Fair points. Right, Neil, who are you going for?
Ollie Rathbone and Max Cleworth.
As joint players of the year.
Hello?
You keep in mind, mate, this isn't a Cameron Clegg situation.
Why not?
Alliance of
why
not? One
not?
person gets given the trophy.
Hello?
There's only one person gets given the trophy.
Ollie Rathbone, but it was so close between both of them. Going back to James, I think the first few games, for me personally struggled, but he's grown into the season and got far better as the season's gone on, and we've seen the class of the player he is, and obviously Parkinson saw that in to bring him into the club. But Rathbone covers every inch of that pitch, and he epitomises, as Bill said, a midfielder. He works his socks off. He reminds me a little bit of Mickey Thomas in his stance and the way he runs. But no, superb player, really nice guy. I actually saw him before the game on Saturday in the car park, and he was really looking forward to the game. And I said, "You're going to put on another performance like you did at Blackpool?" And I said, "Exactly the same." He said, "We'll be just as good." And a really nice chap. And I couldn't give it. It was very close between him and Max, because Max has again grown with the team. He's the only player that's come through from where we started from, and each season he gets much better. He's a quality defender, and how we've held on to him, I don't know how teams have not come in and made stupid bids for him, but glad he stayed at Wrexham. And Ollie Rathbone.
That's the beauty of the situation we're in, isn't it? We don't have to sell players for the first time in ever. It's fantastic. Okay, let me put another.
I've got one for you, Mark. Before we reveal what you're going to say, who's yours, and all that sort of stuff, I'm going to do in reverse order the top five from who scored for players who played more than 20 or more times this season. Wow. Okay, so I think that automatically doesn't include Sam Smith and Jay Rodriguez because they signed in January, and obviously a number of players who only came off the bench. So fifth was Ollie Rathbone. Fourth was Ollie Palmer. Third was Max Cleworth. Second was Owen O'Connell, and it may have come as a bit of a surprise, but our top-rated player with 20 or more appearances is actually Lewis Brunt.
Interesting. I mean, I suppose statistical, isn't it? But he makes a lot of interceptions. He makes a lot of headers. It'll be per 90, won't it, as well? I can see the logic in that.
And So in terms of who got the highest amount of man of the matches over the season, Owen O'Connell got 8 man of the match awards according to who scored. James McLean got 4 and Lewis Brunt got 4. So that's probably what factors into a lot of it as well. Just again, I know I'm becoming this stat guy, and I don't want to become that guy. But I just find it really interesting that when you look at that sort of aspect of it, the different light that it shines on what we do. And I think our sort of backroom staff are quite data driven. So when we're maybe questioning their decisions, this kind of thing might be what's informing them as well as what's informing what I'm saying. Sorry, Mark, go on.
No, so I don't have access to that level of data, but I would be surprised if there's any centre backs in League One who have more successful carries of the ball than Brunt, because he passes it very well, but he carries the ball exceptionally well. He sees the right opportunity, and when there's space in front of him, he's got speed and he can drive through the lines. I think Brunt will become a legend for us, personally. I think he and Cleworth have both got that in them, without question. And Brunt's had a brilliant first season. My question to you, before I say who I'm going to go for, is if that's some big deal, is when it comes to goals per minute, could you argue Mr. Stephen Fletcher, who is our joint top scorer and has scored a lot of winning goals, is player of the season? Because, all right, that's an unorthodox thing to say. He started 2 games in all competitions. So obviously a player who starts 2 games in the season winning player of the season goes against sort of your intuition. But has anyone made more of a difference than him?
No, he's scored some crucial goals, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's come on and scored some very late goals for us.
Yeah. Is it 5 winning goals out of the 8? I think.
You know, to go from one point as a draw to 3 points as a win, he's done that a lot, hasn't he?
That's 10 points he's got for us right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he's in with a shout. But for me, as I say, I'm going to sound like a parrot. What's won us the league this year is being so defensively sound. So for me, it has to be one of the back 3 or the keeper.
Would you like a cracker?
A cracker? I didn't get that. Sorry, Mark.
Sorry, Polly. Anyway.
Yeah.
Chay.
Of course, I'd like to go against the grain, so I'm going to say Ollie Rathbone for player of the season. Exactly the reasons you said before. I think he's been magnificent, and I think for any of us, anybody, any Wrexham fan who's followed this season, to select him above the other players we've been talking about who've been exceptional, and some we haven't even mentioned who've been exceptional, shows how good he's been. You know. Now, young player. Well,
Okonkwo. It is Okonkwo though, Chay, is only because you've given Max Cleworth player of the season, because surely by default the fact that he qualifies for it means that he should win both.
Well, Okonkwo should
be recognised.
Should have been the keeper of the season in League One, in my personal opinion.
Absolutely.
The fact that he didn't get it, and again, I'm going to rant about the League One awards. I think Birmingham have been brilliant this season, but I think their manager winning it, I have to disagree with as well.
I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop you there. I kind of don't necessarily disagree, but we weren't saying that when we were in the National League when we did what Birmingham have done to this league.
No, it's a different level. They've signed players with Champions League level quality.
Okay, I take that on board, but. We were signing League One players when we were in the National League, and Phil Parkinson rightly deserved the Manager of the Year award when we were in the National League.
I think Phil Parkinson has a good shout for League One as well, to be fair. And I think Burton's manager probably deserves it after where they finished after December. You know, for them to stay up with a game left, incredible. Redding's managers at Noel Hunt definitely deserves a shout as well.
Listen to the Ask Wrexham podcast that I just recorded and haven't put out yet, because I talked about that, and I feel any of those 4 that you just named would be exceptional winners of it. So I don't have a problem with Parkinson not getting it, for the simple reason that if any of those 4 got it, for me, that would be a good winner. But
Yeah.
I mean, it is remarkable that Parkinson hasn't won it, but it would be remarkable if Davis, who can equal our 111 points, remember, if he doesn't win it, I think that'd be pretty remarkable too. So,
Are they playing Blackpool tonight, guys?
as we speak, this is what you listen to podcasts for, people giving you live updates of games that happened 24 hours before you post a podcast. Thanks, Neil. And the exciting exclusive news is that in the match that you guys all know the score of already, it has finished. Oh, man. So it is Blackpool 0, Birmingham 2. So if they win at Cambridge on Saturday, I could put when they win into that sentence. They'll equal our record, but they can't beat it, which is nice because it's a hell of a record to have, isn't it? Best season in the history of football.
It's shows an interesting dynamic between what we've done and what they're trying to do as well, doesn't it? You know, that this American ownership model coming in and pumping money to a club that's probably at an artificially lower level than they should be, and bringing them back up by spending a lot of money, but also that you need quality there in terms of the backroom staff, and I think Birmingham have nailed that this year. But we've proven that over 3 years we've done something absolutely incredible. And I think, Chay, maybe you're right that I've sort of brought myself around here that maybe Parkinson deserves it just for the achievement of overcoming the pressure of winning 3 promotions in a row.
Yeah. I think Parky's certainly in with a shout, and I think a lot of different fans are very dismissive of what any sort of success that we have. But the fact, you know, let's be fair, Stockport in with a shout of getting promoted this season, but they missed out on the double promotion themselves, didn't they? Because they had that one extra season in League Two. They spent a lot of money. Teams spend a lot of money. The fact of the matter is we've gone back to back to back, and I seriously can't see that being replicated anytime soon. I think just for that reason, I know it's not throughout the and we've come second, in all fairness. Phil Parkinson could definitely win it just on that alone, because that we'll change. I know we're changing the subject a little bit, but Mark, that's got to be up there with the greatest achievements in English football history, isn't it?
It is. Nobody's done it. It's astonishing to manage that.
It's in the top 5, isn't it, of greatest achievements in English football history, and it's just remarkable. It really is.
To give it a Wrexham context as well, if we get a draw at Lincoln, we'll have 90 points. Now, even allowing for when there was 2 points for a win, if you convert those and give them 3 points for a win in those seasons, this will still be the first time we've achieved 90 points in the Football League. The only time we've had more than more than what we got now, because this is already the 3rd highest points total we've ever had. Like I say, making that adjustment, where the Andy Burrell season only got 98 and the 1-1-1 season. It's astonishing. We've won, let's make sure I get this right. We've won 26 league games. We've only won 26 league games, was it 6 times in our history? Burrell, John Neal, was it John Neal? And then Parkinson 4 times.
Wow. Wow.
So, you know, when people get frustrated with Parkinson and say we don't like what you've done there, you haven't made your substitutions early enough, I've just got this urge to say, I think he knows what he's doing. So I've got this gut feeling he knows what he's doing, you know? So essentially, yes, we have selected Phil Parkinson as the League One Manager of the Year, which I think is an extremely successful outcome to this conversation, apart from the fact it's supposed to be us saying who's Young Player of the Year. Who's Young Player of the Year?
Max Cleworth. Marginally. Okonkwo really close, but Max Cleworth.
I came to the same conclusion, exactly the same. Okonkwo's brilliant. Absolutely outstanding, and you're 100% right. Why is he not League One Keeper of the Year? I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of political. We won't give anyone more than 2 players in that team. But for God's sake, Okonkwo is the best goalkeeper at this level. Clearly, But for me, Cleworth is phenomenal and is just ahead of him. It's a tight one. Neil? Oh, no.
Yeah, Max Cleworth as well. Again, ahead of Okonkwo, but it takes a great defence to to protect the keeper and to stop the opposition having shots on goal. And the Saturday was a great show on that, where everybody was just throwing themselves in front of the ball to keep to protect Okonkwo in the goal. But he's going to be a great keeper. Sometimes he did it a little bit when Smith shouting at the pitch to him to put the long ball over the top for him to run on, but no. With 20 clean sheets he's kept all season, so superb. But it takes a good defence as well to help him achieve that.
And here's another crazy thing: we've managed to talk about player of the season without mentioning a player that we had in the League One team of the season, Ryan Barnett.
Of course.
Well, it's crazy, isn't it? That I do not want to put Ryan Barnett down in the slightest. So please do not interpret this wrong way. But you could make a case that he's not even the best right back at the club with the way Longman's come in and changed the play. But he's not starting every game, and I really don't mean that nasty, because I absolutely love Ryan Barnett, and who doesn't at the club? And it's amazing to have two players who are just as good as each other in the same position. So that is not a criticism of Barnett, but it just shows how quality our squad is, that someone who hasn't started the last set of games in the season is winning the right back of the year. And he's not necessarily getting games ahead of Longman. It's mad how good we are.
But I think the problem is recency bias, isn't it? Because if you remember at the start of the season, Ryan Barnett, everyone's like, he's going to be player of the season. He's going to be player of the season.
Yeah.
He's been brilliant. And I'm not saying he's had, the only bad game I can really think off the top of my head he's had this season is Bristol Rovers at home, and have a whole season. That's quite impressive, isn't it?
And let me just reiterate, I absolutely love Ryan Barnett, so that is not a criticism in the slightest.
And yet, despite that, Bill, Chay, do you mind if I call you Nice Long from now on? Because Bill is the nasty long. Yeah, said it.
And when you think a number of assists he's performed this season, Barnett, he was top in the league for a while, wasn't he? For number 6,
he still is. He's equal top.
Still is, yeah.
Yeah, a superb player, and he'll go on with this next season. All be well, a great player. And as Bill said, it's such a great honour to have two players who can play in the same position who both got great qualities. But going back to Max Cleworth, I mean, the way he's grown, why he's my chosen young player of the season. His assist for the goal for Smith on Saturday. Yeah. The way he gets himself up the pitch and he's not scared. He didn't even take a touch on the ball when it was said at the wing to him. He just first touch was the ball into the box, smack on Smith's head for to make it all a bit easier, and 3-0 Wrexham winning promotion.
And I feel he could do a good job in any position. That's quite something, isn't it, really? I don't know. Well, we better wrap it up, chaps. Off to Lincoln on Saturday. I don't know what fancy dress should I wear. Am I going to go back? I used to be a professional Jerry Halliwell lookalike, obviously. It was for a local Italian takeaway. I used to walk around dressed like her with a board saying, "Scream if you want to have pasta." So I could fall back on that, obviously, but if you got any...
Yeah, I think you should, Mark. I think you should, mate. Yeah, I look forward to seeing it when you do the commentary.
Jerry Halliwell.
Yeah.
Does it have to be her?
Yeah, you chose her.
The Union Jack dress anymore, I'll be honest with you.
No, you've already bigged it up, so there we go. Jerry Halliwell. Perfect.
Nightmare. Okay, got a couple of days.
What do you reckon, guys?
I think the pie Wigan's mascot, but like a Wrexham version.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that. Right, fair enough. I'll see what I can do. I'll talk to my people in the costumier industry and see what I can do. Nice one. Right, let's wrap that up. And then next week, let's have a lovely old time with it again. Pleasure chatting to you as always, guys.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
That was Final Whistle Weekly.